Good morning, guys, and welcome back to Dusting Off Warlord, Saga of the Storm. Featuring Vakeros. Yes, another Nothrog. The channel's gone stagnant. I actually had planned, to do a video on Jatuya Sign. And I thought of it, as soon as I saw that sign was being re-released back into Ancients, I thought that might make an interesting video. I hated recording that. Like, I tried several times, and it felt like, this is gonna sound really dumb because this is stupid. It felt like something that I should do, but it wasn't something I really wanted to do, and so yeah, a lot of those big hiatuses were me trying to make that episode and like just like not really caring, like not really giving a shit. Like, I'd rather go dust my apartment because like I just it's not that I don't even have any interest in playing Sign. Something about that video was just, it wasn't good. So we're gonna keep doing some greenskins there. Probably the last one for a while. Vakeros. Oh, good heavens, man. The first video I did on this channel for Warlord was Reggen, and Reggen is, I think, a very strong candidate for most popularly voted worst Warlord in the game. And I'm not saying that I think Reggen is good per se, but I don't think she's as bad as a lot of people say. This guy, this might be, this might be the worst Warlord in the game. I don't know. This guy, so back a long, long time ago, back when Campaign Edition was still in full swing, the person I would consider the dominant player in our play group at the game store, you know, around here, his name was Drew, and he was a big Nothrog fan. Like, I cannot even count the number of times that dude would freaking beat the tar out of me out of that with that stupid Uthanax, not Sanuris, whoever that 4th level wizard was that lets your guys in rank 5 punch things. Like, he would, so many games where I'm like, I either have to go to the front and I'm playing like a wizard, and I don't want to go to the front, or I have to like stack things behind me. He was just, yeah, he would beat the crap out of me. He was great. He tried to make this guy work so many, and he could not do it. He could not do it. And I think partially one of the reasons why that may be was it's been so long. I don't have the specific dates, and I may be getting these out of order. But back then, the Dima challenges and the Iron Hall challenges were kind of still going off around here, and everybody was running Infinity's End in their decks to deal with those two. Like, everyone was running Infinity's End to deal with those two. And believe it or not, Vakeros does not like Infinity's End at all. So they don't even need to draw multiple copies of it for it to just freaking like break his junk off. So and so, unlike a lot of most of the decks that I have, I've been playing for a fairly long period of time. I need to work on this. I don't make too many new decks very often. I think the last real shakeup was the 20th anniversary set, and with Princess Eliza, whew, that was a lot of fun. Although I think she is the only one that I built out of that set, so I need to get on that. But no, Vakeros is actually one of the more recent decks that I've kind of come up with. And he does it for a really weird reason, so we're gonna get into that. Just again, I'm gonna try to remember to say this. This is not serious Warlord, okay? This is not, you know, I got my cool combo and it's gonna get you, and I'm gonna go take the online league. No, it's not gonna happen, okay? My play group is very casual. There's not very many of us, and we mostly play Warlord just to relax and have fun. And we will remove things from our own little, you know, pool of acceptable cards if people are finding they're not the games aren't fun. And so so yeah, a very casual Warlord. If you're interested in competitive Warlord, like some of the people who actually know what they're talking about, know what they're doing, go check out guardiansofthestorm.com. Actually, I think at this point, I think the website is just Saga of the Storm. I'll put a link in here because I can't really remember right now, but so Vakeros came out of Counterattack. He's a 5th level evil Nothrog wizard. He has 1 melee strike at +8, 13 armor class, +9 skill, and he has 2 hit points. This is why Infinity's End freaking, yeah, this is why it's so rough on him, because he's only got 2. pretty much the reason he only has 2 is because he's also a summoner, and for reasons I can't explain, I am not an intelligent man, okay? I'm just some random guy trying to live his life, but for reasons I cannot even contemplate, going all the way back to Sorsha, there was like some kind of taboo on these summoners only having, having more than 2 hit points. Lakara's suit only had 2 hit points. Sorsha had only 2 hit points. It's like, what? I really am curious what they were afraid of. Like, oh my god, guys, the summoner has a 3rd hit point. Like, oh, what do we do? And it's, no, now they did change that eventually. I believe it's Akiela, I think was one of the summoner warlords who did get the 3rd hit point. Very, very stupid, but you know what? Whatever. So Vakeros has riposte +0, and he has this because every warlord in the counterattack set had riposte. Because, the set's called counterattack, and riposte is like a counterattack. Get it? Yeah. If you're riposting with Vakeros, something has gone horribly wrong, okay? So, yeah. All he has, outside of his summoner trait and his riposte feat, is order kill one of your characters in this rank. Perform a range strike with a bonus equal to the character's level. I do not know, under the current ruling of the cards, I do not know if your characters, say when your characters leveled up with leveled, or they played meditation or mentorship, something, I don't know if Vakeros' range strike counts their level that they're getting from those effects, because you kill them as a cost, and by the time he seems to be checking for the value of the range strike, I think they're dead and those cards no longer apply to them. I don't know. It's not really relevant. This game can be so odd sometimes. The only reason Vakeros got kind of a second view was randomly one day I was going through my cards and I was just like, I don't want to say I was scheming, but I was in the mood to maybe try something new. And I'm like, okay, Zach, what have you not done? What could you try to do? And I stumbled upon this very interesting card that came out, I think, fairly late in 4th edition. And that card is Envoy Soraya. This is a very, very unusual character. Envoy Soraya is a 4th level wizard, but because it doesn't say this on the text, and it doesn't really matter, but she's an ogre mage, an ogre magi, I guess is what they're called. And the ogre magi in this game, they are usually wizards, and I think I'm pretty sure they only came along in 4th edition. But they're wizards, but they usually have like some freakishly high attack stats. Like the Zoltan Bloodletter, I did a video on him, and his base strike is like, it's higher than a lot of fighters. So Soraya's got a +8/+0. She's got 14 armor class, +7 skill. She's got 2 hit points. She's an illusionist, which you can work with that. We're not going to do that for this. She also has power attack +6. So again, for a wizard, very, very aggressive combat stats, at least as far as her attack stats go. 14 AC is still not amazing, but whatever. She has 2 abilities that revolve around treasures. Treasures are another thing that I am kind of surprised were a thing in the beginning of the game, because treasures originally, they had the text on them that said, if you put this card into play, the game's winner keeps it. They were basically like anti-cards in Magic. Now, Magic got rid of the anti-system a long time before Warlord came around, and so the idea that these cards would be, you would have to give them away, like, it's very, very, like, it's very strange, and so I don't know what they were thinking. The later treasures didn't really do that, like, they got rid of that, and I don't think you could ever actually enforce that, but, whatever. Soraya deals with treasures in 2 different ways. One, she can spend a treasure equipped to her to do one of 3 things. She can perform a melee strike, which again, her base stat is +8, very good. She can perform a +6 range strike, which is pretty solid. Or she can move forward or backward 1 rank. This is a lot of things you can do with treasures, especially treasures that don't really do anything other than give you stats or, give you some buff. And the other thing she can do is, once per turn, target a treasure within 3 ranks. Destroy the target or equip it to Soraya regardless of class or level restrictions. So this by itself, and again, this deck is very silly, okay? Like, it's kind of fun to play when it works. It's very strange. So Soraya can basically spend her treasures to get effects, but she can also steal a treasure from something once per turn. This can be a treasure on one of your characters, or it can be a treasure on somebody else's character if they happen to have that. It says regardless of class or level restrictions. I don't think she can take things that are faction specific, like when the epic weapons got reprinted in 4th edition, or the level 10, the original, the ancestral swords basically for this game. If you don't know what that is, it's an LFR reference. The ancestral sword weapon things are faction specific. I don't think she can take that. She can destroy it, which can be kind of nice. So if I'm going to build a deck built around this character, which is what we're going to do, as odd as it sounds, I'm going to need a way to find her. And Vakeros being a summoner, this Soraya is a dual faction character. She's both a Nothrog and a Devrenian. I guess one of the reasons why I'm doing this video is I do consider her to be kind of an interesting choice with Jatuya Sai. Not a good choice. She's not Peyton Latham. She's not, Alistair the Attentive, but I think kind of interesting. But I want to get her into play as soon as possible and start doing things with treasures. And Vakeros, I didn't really realize this until I started brainstorming on this deck. Vakeros, I believe, is the only summoner warlord between both Nothrogs and Devrenians. So, and as odd as it sounds, he actually plays into what we're going to do kind of well. So that's going to be the goal, is to get Soraya out and try to get her to do some cool stuff. So for starters, we are abusing. We are definitely abusing here. The friendly local game store meta, where when something is okay, there's no kids around. When something is fucking bullshit and we decide this is fucking dumb and we're not going to do it, we don't do it. So instead of the normal start, which would be it would still probably be Gundas. It'd be something like that. But we're gonna go different here, because you know what, we're gonna have some fun. So instead, we're starting 2 copies of Trug and a copy of Gruck in rank 1. In rank 2, we're starting a Rangok, because I still think this guy he's I think especially good in here. And we're starting a copy of Tasdash. I think that's how you say that name. I fucking hate this, okay? Like, I fucking hate the entire design process / what happened with this guy. I especially hate it because of how fucking many of these things I have, okay? So in 4th edition, there was kind of a problem with at least is in my opinion, and back from what I saw, especially back then when I wasn't playing in a tiny little playgroup, I was playing at the game store. There was a problem with some of the starters, okay? And that problem was mostly in Devrenians with Gene Court Initiate, but it was also in Nothrogs with Gunda. And the problem, if you want to call it a problem, is nobody played anything but those 2 starters. In Devs, nobody played anything except Gene Court Initiate, okay? Because it was better than everything, and it wasn't just a little bit better. It was like dramatically better than any of the other starters for Devs in 4th edition. Kind of the same thing happened with Gunda. Like, they did have other starters. They did have other things you can play. Nobody played them. You were starting Gundas. There was practically no question about it. So as the game progressed, I think Phoenix Interactive, I think they kind of started to notice that. And what they did, in Dev's case, they started releasing some level 1 characters that had kind of off-the-charts stats / abilities. I think it's Relian Pikeman was one, but Black Sun Shieldman, his stat block, +2 attack, 12 armor class, and a static buff to range strikes that all 3 of them will give. Like, that's phenomenal. And still nobody played him because Gene Court Initiate was that good. What they did for Nothrogs was they printed this card, and this card called Tasdash, whatever the fuck this guy's name is. I'm not really happy when I talk about it. You may notice I'm not super happy about this. So they reprinted this guy with the idea that you would play this with Trug, okay? And again, we're starting 2 Trugs and a Gruck, because I think that's what they intended anyway. So Tasdash was a character that he doesn't really work with Gunda. He actually doesn't really do much most of the time, except with Trug. Like, the idea is you're starting Trug, so you're not starting the Gundas, because that's what they wanted. At least, I'm assuming that's what they wanted. Tasdash has a +5 melee strike, okay? And he has the react once per turn. After he performs a melee strike that hit, it's important that he doesn't have to kill you, he just has to hit you. Perform a +3 range strike, okay? So what I saw, and I'm not saying this is what everybody saw, but what I saw was some people were like, "Oh, this is kind of a cool start." I don't remember if Gruck, because I know Gruck did get reprinted. Again, I can't remember what order the sets came out. Fourth edition was kind of a blur to me. People are like, "Oh, this is a different start we can do. We can do this, and we can spend for the +5, and if it hits, we can do the +3, and that's pretty good. Like, that's pretty phenomenal right there." And so, this is going to sound crazy, but Phoenix Interactive printed this card so that people would play it, and do you know what happened? People played it. And they were like, okay, so this is the start we can do. And apparently, again, I don't, even playing at the game store then, I didn't play competitively. But apparently, they thought this was too good. Like, Phoenix Interactive went, oh my god, that thing we reprinted, people are using it. Oh, we cannot have any of that shit. So what did they do? They MRP, they eradicated I should probably TD, okay? They added TD. So instead of him having a +5 melee strike, he's got a +2, okay? They more than halved it, all right? And do you know what the player base did? They were like, "Oh, so you don't want us to play?" And they all went back to fucking Gunda, okay? Like, are you fucking joking with this shit, okay? And how many of these things I fucking have lying around? Now, you may be saying, "But Zach, yeah, it was too good at +5." Okay, the problem with this is, at least in my opinion, and I'm just some stupid guy living in California. Okay? I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But the problem is the second ability doesn't happen unless the first ability hits. And the first ability is only +2, okay? So, had they just crazy theory land here, had they made his melee strike +3 and the range strike +2, because okay, maybe the +5 was too good. Maybe it was. Again, I don't even think I did this back then. I still just stuck to Gunda because Gunda was more consistent and more reliable. So at least if you have the first part of the process, okay, if X happens, then Y happens, okay? X was a higher number and was more likely to happen. Y was a lesser number, but it was an extra effect. Instead, oh, it's a +2. No. Like, no, you are out of your mind, okay? So, yeah, our Tash Dash, we're not fucking doing that. We're playing the +5, and it's a +5 because fuck that other nonsense, okay? So that's what we're doing for starters there. The Tash Dash is just to get cute. Gruck does give him a little bit of a buff. This is one of those scenarios where Gruck only having the +3, but it doesn't matter how many Grucks you have. This does play to that advantage, so in theory, you know, it's a +5 followed by a +6. Yeah, I'm sure the Ancients meta, it would be totally ruined by this at this point because, good lord. So, as far as other stuff goes, so again, we're trying to buff Soraya's attack and her range strike. So if you need to buff range strikes, you've got Archer Tower. We're going to run one of those. And 2 copies of Temple of Lore. This deck does have quite a few higher level characters in it, and Temple of Lore can kind of mess things up as far as your formations go. One of the interesting things is Vakeros' ability to sacrifice characters to perform range strikes. I've actually found that it doesn't make the temple quite as bad. It can still be problematic, but it's not as bad as it could be. And one of the things you can do too, if it is being that much of a problem, we're running 3 copies of Orjak to help move the Sorayas around and move other stuff around. You can move the temple back into rank 2 and then sacrifice it to Vakeros because Vakeros is not faction specific. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had to do that, but it is an option if you need to. So, we're also going to run 4 copies, or not 4. If I said 4 for the Orjaks, I'm sorry. 3 copies of Sathis for, again, some more card draw. We really need to get the Envoy Soraya, like, as soon as possible. And then we also are running 3 copies of Urg. These are just in here to try to help keep... Well, let me rephrase that, because this isn't always the case. These are in here to keep the Sorayas alive, or try to. But I have used these quite a bit on Temples of Lore as well, to try to keep them alive. So, yeah. All around very solid. Another kind of... card that I think is this is actually, I haven't really talked about this card yet, but I play this in a lot of different decks, is a couple copies of Gallows Fiend. Gallows Fiend is a mercenary. It's level 2. Its stats don't really matter. You can spend him, target a spent or stunned adjacent character of 4th level or less. The target becomes ready but may not perform an attack until next turn. Now, with Soraya, you can attack, but reality check, she's not missing a whole lot by just making melee strikes with the treasures. And because I'm not really running too much in the way of like actual movement outside of the Orjaks and One other thing, you can just stun her forward, and then the Gallows Fiend can ready her, and it plays together very, very oddly. I really like Gallows Fiend with oh good, why can't I think of the name of it? The monster that shoots. I'm sorry, I'll edit it in, but I really like Gallows Fiend with a lot of different things, and Soraya is no exception. So the only other real movement we're running is Votar Plains. This just lets you move twice when something moves moves a Nothrog, or when after a Nothrogan army moves forward or backward, move the Nothrog one rank in the same direction. So you can use this whether you're just maneuvering. You can use this if Orjak is moving you forward, or you can use it if Soraya is spending one of her treasures. So that's kind of nice. And then it's Ancients, and I'm looking for specific cards. So of course there's a Tauren Yssar. As far as the what do I want to do this? Okay, so as far as the actual treasures go, you can change this kind of wildly, and I think I have done several different builds of this. Ivory Scepter got reprint. Actually, let me go through the reprints. So Ivory Scepter, Wyvern Skin Robe, and Spellbook and Tefel Tiger's Mask. These all got reprinted as treasures at some indeterminate point during 4th edition. So outside of the Scepter can spend to do its ability, but everything else, the Wyvern Skin Robe, the Spellbook, the Tefel Tiger's Mask, and then we're also running Symbol of Kerberos too, a couple of those. These all do things without needing to spend to do it, so you can use Soraya's ability and you're not really losing anything. You're not having to make decisions. The Ivory Scepter, this is mostly just in here in case, again, the DC, you're making a DC save instead of making strikes. Sometimes that can be relevant. Now, I have done several different builds on the items in this deck. The ones that haven't changed are the Wyvern Skin Robes and the Spellbooks, and I haven't changed these out because these are part of almost like a separate combo that's in this deck. So each of these gives you bonuses for casting spells. The Spellbook, you have to have it. The Wyvern Skin Robe, someone else has to have it, but, oh, good lord, yeah, this episode is not being aired or organized correctly, but that's fine. We're running Time Stop in this deck too for 2 different reasons. So Time Stop is a 7th level wizard spell. It's one of the highest level normal spells in the game. It's just an order. This wizard may perform any number of orders until he declares done. Other characters may not perform reacts during this action. I'm not sure. There may have been some text clarification on this. Basically, when the wizard casts this, he gets to do as many things as he wants to, and they cannot do anything until this has resolved. Until you're done. Until you say you're finished doing. Until you say done. So Soraya can, again, if she has a bunch of treasures on, say she has 3 treasures, and this may not sound like a whole lot, but if she has Time Stop going off, she may make, either 4 range strikes, they might be plus 12, or 4 melee strikes at +8, and they can't react they can't do any reacts in the meantime, meaning they can't heal because they can't perform reacts. They can't play things that would, help shore their ranks up. Like, they can't put a Prince Alaric in play. They have to just basically sit there and take it. And in addition to her doing that, potentially getting a string out of those, now she would need a Spellbook on and 2 robes on other characters in her army. Vakeros can cast that if he has a Spellbook and there's one of those robes in the other army. And he can kind of do a similar thing. It's just instead of him spending treasures, he's killing characters, just throw a bunch of bodies at you and hope it's enough to get the job done. Not always super reliable, but Soraya can only equip the Wyvern Skin Robe when she's in rank 4, like right when you first play her, but you can put them onto Vakeros and then she can steal it from him. It's kind of janky, but it does work. Kind of. So, in addition to their own strikes, we're also going to run 3 copies of Magic Missile because tacking this on either at the beginning or at the end, or at some other point in between when they're making all their other strikes, I have found this to be pretty useful. Again, you can replace this. They're both level 4. You can replace this with Incinerate if you decide that's better, and it might be better in some cases. I think I was actually running that at one point. And I just found this, if you need quality strikes, Soraya can make quality strikes without any real difficulty. Sometimes you just need to clear off a whole bunch of little guys, and this works great for that. So, in addition, Again, because the spellbook and the Wyvern Skin Robe are giving you levels for casting spells, it's usually not just 4 or 5. It's usually way more shots that you're making than that. So, excuse me. Then we've got 3 copies of Immediate at the End and 3 copies of Rise and Obey. This is just more card draw. The Rise and Obey in particular is pretty much why we're doing Vakeros for this, because none of the other Warlords in Devs or Nothrogs can actually play this card, and just being able to look for the Soraya is pretty nice. Kind of a good way to get your combo, jump started. So, I mean, that's really what this deck does. Again, it's not super good. Actually, it probably sucks, whatever. But it's a lot of fun to play when she's got, 3 or 4 treasures on and she's just like, time stop. And then it's like, they go, okay, what do you do? And I go, strike, 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 spend to attack. Like, oh, it can be a good time. Or again, Vakeros is like, yeah, it's not happening with the Soraya, so I cast time stop and I'm going to throw my army at you. And if you can get him in the rank with the Archer Tower, if you have 7 or 8 characters in play, that could end the game right there. If Vakeros goes up to rank 1 and is just like lobbing bodies at you, and they're like they're +7 at least, like, yeah, that could be a good time. They can't react at all. So I have done several different variants of this. This is just the one I'm doing right now. The character base has kind of changed a bit. Originally I was running I think his name is Heichun. He's a 3rd level summoner, and I was actually running I Call Forth Valor for a while. I think I was running this in addition to Rise and Obey because I was super paranoid about not getting the Soraya. But I did find that, again, if I'm not getting the Soraya, if I'm not getting the Soraya or the Archer Tower, I'll probably just lose, and that happens. But as long as I get one of those, I mean, Vakeros, he has ended games with just the Archer Tower and tossing bodies. Not too many of them, but it does happen. So you can run that. You can also run this deck. I really should find a way to get this back in. You could play Stone Skin in here, which Stone Skin on Soraya, you can hide behind that for a very long time. Like, you can get a lot of survivability around that. Sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes people have the answer to it, but very, very solid. And you can also use this on, like, just random... You can use this on, like, the Temple if you needed to not die, or the Archer Tower if you need to not die. So, yeah, that's a thing. As far as starters go, I think originally I was doing just Gunda, if I remember correctly. And then I was just running Tempo Bam. Tempo Bam worked fine. Just moving him forward to shoot, with some aggression. Hopefully hitting something in Ring 2 that's juicy, and hopefully, because this deck is not super quick, I have had a couple games where it's gone off turn 1. It usually doesn't. It's usually turn 2, maybe turn 3. And again, in the competitive circles, that's far too late. So luckily, that's not the kind of Warlord I play. But there really is not too much more to say about this. It's very goofy. It's very silly. And I think Vakeros sucks, but somehow it comes together the way it needs to sometimes. So, yeah, I do have a lot of fun playing it. So, yeah, that's going to do it. I think the next video, it's not going to be Nothrogs. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Raylar Magic Bane for the next one. So, stay tuned for that. Thanks for checking this out. God bless you, and I'll catch you in the next video.